Hi, and welcome to United Goalkeeping Alliance's The Goalkeepers Podcast. Today with Saskia Webber. Saskia, please tell us a little bit about you. Tell us where you are, what you do, and how are you doing today?
Hey everybody, it's good to be here. I'm Saskia Webber, 1999 World Cup soccer champion, goalkeeper. I played at Rutgers University, played pro around the world, and now I'm the goalkeeper coach at UCLA, co-founder and owner of Angel City FC, and owner of theunionsports.com.
So you're wearing a hat, but you wear a lot of hats.
Yes.
so
Yes.
No, that's great. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Now talk to us a little bit about your journey playing. Growing up, you grew up in New Jersey. How what was that like?
Well, I mean, growing up playing, back in the day, I won't age myself. I'm sure you could Google it, but back in the day, I started off playing like rec, there was no ECNL, there were no academies, there was nothing like that. And then I started on club teams and everything. Eventually went to ODP. By the time I was a junior in high school, I started in with the national team. We called it the under 20s, but really it was like minus Michelle Akers or one or two people. And then I went on to play at Rutgers University. Loved it there. So proud of them and everything they've done with the organization and how great they did this year in the NCAAs. And then by then I was on the full national team, and I spent the next 10 years with the full national team, 2 World Cups and Olympics, and culminated by the 99 World Cup championship, as well as 96 Olympic champion. And then we started the WUSA, which was the first women's pro league. And I finished my career there with New York Power, and then retired. So I can age myself. See, I retired. And then I took a bit of a hiatus, and I moved out to LA, and came back in coaching a little bit of club, and then was brought in to coach UCLA.
So okay, so I have a ton of questions now. All right, so here's the first one, right? So the first one would be, you didn't like, how did you make it? Because you didn't have ECNL, you didn't have,
Right.
these things weren't around, right? So
Right.
what was around, and how did you stand out at that time?
Well, back then it's kind of funny because high school was actually a big thing back then, and we didn't have. This is kids for them that can't out there that can't understand this, but understand this. There was no internet or anything like that, so you sent like your newspaper clippings and everything off to the schools you wanted to go to. But I was fortunate enough to play for a couple good club teams in and around the New Jersey area and New York area, as well as back then ODP was kind of like the identification place to go for players. So my first ODP camp, I was 16. I came in, I was brought up to the U19s and at 16, and it just kind of happened all really fast at that point. I was identified immediately in my region, and then it was just a snowball running downhill.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to being ready for those opportunities, right?
Yes.
Just because a lot of times, like, we may not know we're getting an opportunity, we may not see that we're getting an opportunity, but it's there. But if we're just kind of taking it as another session or as another game or as another whatever, then we let those opportunities go, right? So super important that we take advantage.
Absolutely. You never know who's looking. I mean, I didn't set out to do ODP for that. I was green, I would say. And, it was another chance to play and play against the best. And I took it. And then I learned really quick that this was, something where I was being identified by college coaches and national team coaches and everything. And it really was a good decision, because back then a lot of players, clubs would kind of discourage their players from doing ODP. things have changed a lot now with ECNL, with everything, with academies, with so on and so forth. But back then, there was kind of like a push and tug between your regular clubs and ODP. But I took the leap of faith, and I did the ODP, and it obviously worked out in my favor.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And now, okay, so you are so now you're committed to playing full time at the national with the national team, right? You have your career. Do you set yourself that goal, or do a couple of you set yourself that goal of creating a women's league?
I think that back when we played, the only place to play after I graduated college was to go overseas. And there were only two places to go, and that was to Sweden or to Japan. There was no, England. There was nothing. So I know that's hard for young kids to understand, but there were no leagues around Europe and stuff. It was just those two. So I went off to Japan for 3 years and played there, which was an amazing experience. And in that kind of lull in between World Cups and after graduating, it was a perfect decision for me to make. But I think that all of us on the 99 team felt that we could create a league here at home with the talent that we had. And so I know that it was in all of our dreams, and, the 99 World Cup championship and the notoriety and everything that went with it really helped us kick that off.
Yeah, no. And again, right, it's super important to just to have that vision, to just, first of all, those experiences that you had and being exposed to those leagues, and now being able to bring that experience home. So now you're back. How does that transition into coaching happen?
It's kind of funny because when my fifth year at Rutgers, I wasn't playing. I was just still finishing my school and stuff. And so I helped assistant coach, just like volunteer assistant with the goalkeepers. And then I assisted for a year at NC State. Same thing, volunteer assistant. When I was in between national team stuff, I lived in North Carolina. And then I coached summer camps. And back when we played, that was what you did in the summer in between friendlies or whatever. You went, and I would coach I'd coach summer camps all around the country to keep myself sharp and educate myself at the same time. When I retired, I kind of took a pause from soccer altogether, just to it was my entire life. So just kind of took a bit of a pause. It was like 15 years, but took a pause from soccer, and then slowly got back into coaching by doing privates. And then I joined the LA Bulls and was the director of their goalkeepers at a small club here. And then UCLA. So, it's not everybody's journey. You don't take a hiatus and then go to the best team in the country. But fortunately, that happened for me.
Not everybody has multiple World Cups.
Correct. But the truth is that not everybody's a coach. And
that is true.
And I found that it was something I loved to do. I found that my insight and everything like that, I was a player for so long, and the fact that I could translate everything I learned into coaching and into young players and stuff, that was a great revelation for me. Like I said, not everybody's a coach. Messi might be the best player in the world, but it doesn't mean he can coach. And no offense, I'm sure he can, but I'm just saying.
Right. No, but now, so what is how do you build that? How do you start that philosophy, that coaching philosophy, right? Because you have this wealth of knowledge, that obviously as a player that you just collected over decades of playing. How do you translate that and make it very digestible for the players that you're coaching and you're dealing with?
I think that you always have to keep yourself open to the fact that I'm learning. The game has changed since for me to come back after like a 15-year hiatus and think that the game was the same and the coaching style was the same would be ridiculous. And you have to, I'm always learning every day, and I'm learning from other coaches and players. And so I think to keep yourself open to that, the rules changes in the game, the philosophies, like, how to deal with through balls and block saves and this and that and the other. I think the fundamentals of goalkeeping will always stay the same. But, there are different ways of dealing with things now. The utilization of goalkeepers as, that 11th player in your systems and everything, that's changed over time. And so you have to be open to change with the times. And I think because I was willing to do that and not kind of set in, well, this is how I learned, this is what I did. And, I think you're going to get stuck in a place. And I think that the fact that I was open to do that really helped me.
And I don't know, right? So I'll ask, I mean, is that for somebody that was as successful as you were as a player, is that difficult to do, to say, maybe I don't have all the answers, maybe this wasn't the only way, could there be a better way to potentially do things? How do you instill that growth mindset? Because that's what it is.
Well, you have to remember, goalkeeping is a gray area, period. I think that if you're a goalkeeper coach and you come in with there's only one way to do something, it's your way, it's the way you were taught, I think you're going to be really stuck. You have to look at goalkeeping as a gray area, because people's abilities are different. Height, size, physicality, everything is different. And so you have to be able to kind of curtail every session and every coaching point to the individual. And it sounds like a lot, because if you look at that from a broad spectrum of like, okay, I have 30 field players. If I did that for every player, that'd be impossible. It's different with goalkeeping, and so I think keep that in mind, and the ability to do that keeps you learning and changing.
Yeah, no, fantastic. This month we're talking about the goalkeeper's role in the 4 phases of the game. For you, right? What is something, right, that maybe we can tell a goalkeeper, right, like a young goalkeeper, maybe 10, 11 years old, about the phases of the game, right? Because I don't think at that age that's being taught. So when you introduce that, what's something very simple that we can tell those goalkeepers, this is how you need to start looking at the game?
List the 4 phases.
So attacking, defending, and then transition, attacking to defending, and defending to attack.
And possession.
Yep.
And possession. So first of all, I always tell my goalkeepers, you have to realize you're not just a defender, you're also the first line of attack. When we get the ball, right, we're the first pass on attack. What we do sets up what our team's going to do moving forward. And you have to look at it that way. For a long time, I think goalkeepers are like, okay, I'm a defender. That's it. I get the ball, I pass it off to my outside back or my, center mid, and that's it. It's not it. What we do can control everything that happens moving forward, getting into the other team's attacking third or defensive third really quickly, getting out of our back and everything that comes from us. And so you have to look at it from all different aspects. On the flip side of that, you also have to constantly be on point to defend, to organize your defense, even when we are on attack. And I think a lot of goalkeepers fall into the fact that they don't do that. Your communication isn't, it doesn't stop when we're in the attacking third. Now you're organizing your defense so that if there's a breakdown, and you're reading the game so that if there's a quick transition moment and now the other team's on attack, that you've already put your chess pieces in place so that we can stifle that attack in a second. So you have to look at that from the defensive side. So our minds are always working, what's going to happen if this breaks down defensively and everything. When we get the ball and receive it, we have to immediately know, and I would say even before we get the ball, We have to have already taken snapshots and doing a checklist of when I get the ball, where am I going with this ball? How is the field set up? Where are my open players? And immediately transitioning. If you take too much time to make those decisions, the other team adjusts, and now you're on your back foot. In possession and everything, we have to be solid with our feet now. That is the nature of the game. Doesn't matter the system anybody's playing. Our team has to be comfortable playing the ball back to you. I tell all goalkeepers they should be playing in rondos and everything. We have to be comfortable 1-2 touch with our feet. That does not mean you should be taking players on. I don't like that. Or anything. Probably means you had a bad first touch, or you weren't, and you hadn't taken a snapshot. All right, let's be smart here, because there's nobody behind us to make up for a mistake. So in possession, we have to realize the systems we're playing, who's going to be open, and how we can transition really quickly. It's a lot to think about, but I think, if we work on all those things in training and in practice, that it becomes second nature. And those snapshots and those checklists just go automatically into you.
So how important do you think access to having football, right, to being able to watch football and having or soccer on TV is? Because I think that's where a lot of those snapshots should be coming from.
Absolutely. And, I didn't have that. We didn't have, other than watching the game when it was possibly on live, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have things edited. We didn't have those things. The ability to be able to watch and see those breakdowns and everything, and see how to adjust to them, see what's done properly is so paramount. And it's a constant teaching tool. Even if you're in practice, if you have, let's say 5 goalkeepers and 1 goalkeeper is training, all the other goalkeepers should be watching what that other goalkeeper is doing, right, wrong, positioning, and everything. And you can do that by watching videos and watching games on television. And so it's paramount that you do that. You can't just check in and check out. You have to kind of, if you want this to be a career, if you want to get to the highest level, you have to learn. It's like going to school. You have to read the books. You have to watch the videos. You have to do what you have to do to make yourself a better player, and utilize all the tools that are out there. And video is paramount to that.
No, yeah. And even, obviously, I mentioned, TV and watching soccer on TV, but yourself, watching yourself, and the way that those sessions now are being recorded along with the, go ahead.
And that's the other thing. You have to be able to watch yourself. But I'm going to tell you some keepers out there, a really big thing. Watching yourself doesn't mean watching the save you made and watching the distribution you made or something. It actually means watching the build up to the save you made. So if you kind of edit that or watch that clip from 10 seconds to 20 seconds earlier, look at the positioning of your defenders. Look at what you could have done better communication-wise to prevent a shot on goal. It's not just about the highlight reel and you making the save. It's how could I have prevented it? Look, the best save any goalkeeper can make is no save at all, period. And that comes from communication and organization. The second best save is the easiest save possible from positioning. And you have to look at those videos with the buildup, with the breakdown with your defense and how you could have organized it better to make it easier on you. And don't just look at what you did great. Look at the goals that are scored on you as well.
And that's a skill, right? Being able to watch, game film, watch yourself is a skill. And a lot of times, I know it's repetitive and I know it's like in front of a computer, so it may not be the most fun thing to do, but you get better at it. Like with anything else, you get better at it. You get better at looking at the little details, the positioning of the defenders, your feet, how you move your feet, where are you leaning to? And those little things that now you're looking at are the little things that you can now say, this worked, this didn't work,
right.
And you just keep adding to your toolbox.
Right. And one of the best things I like about the way I teach and my goalkeepers is that by the time something if we're in training, if something happens, I can look at them and they can give me the answer without me having to give it to them. They can say their positioning was off. They can say they were flat-footed, they were on their heels. They can give me the answer. They can self-coach. And if you're a coach out there and your goalkeepers get to that point, that's what you want. You want them to be able to instantly identify where the mistake was made off a corner kick that they lunged for. They took that split second, like kind of jump forward, and they got caught over top. But if they can answer those questions for you, then when they're in a game, they can adjust it on their own. And that's what you want. We're teachers, we're educators here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And so let me ask you this, what's maybe one piece of advice that you got that is still with you to today, right? What's something that you would tell everybody to follow? Whether it's
and all my fellow coaches out there are probably screaming at the screen right now going, hold the ball, catch the ball. Because they know that's like my MO. Like, catch the ball. Like, I think a lot of young goalkeepers fell into this thing, whether they're watching EPNL or MLS, and the goalkeepers are parrying the ball or boxing the ball or something. Look, nobody's shooting the ball at you at 90 miles an hour. It's not dipping and turning. Catch the ball. Fundamentals. Hold on to the ball when you can. We don't want to give up rebounds. We don't want to give up corner kicks or anything. You will find, and especially in training, and coaches out there, that if your goalkeeper is trying to extend their range, whether that's holding a ball that maybe they used to be able to, they would parry and they drop it, then let them keep doing that, because then eventually they will hold that ball. And that's what you want. And so you have to learn through failure, and you can't be safe. And I find a lot of keepers sometimes when you're training them are like, okay, I'm just going to parry this out of the way. And I'm like, catch the ball. The ball was right there. Catch the ball. And so, so I think that's something that sticks with me. It's something that was ingrained in me, how strong my hands are, how sure I am with my hands, 2 hands to the ball, catch through the ball, hold on to it. Don't give up rebounds.
Yeah. The second chances. And again, right. You have to learn to fail, right? You have to learn to try. Absolutely. And keep doing it and doing it again, because at the end of the day, if you don't try and if you don't learn, it's never going to be part of you.
Right. And a good example of that is crosses. A good example of that is corner kick or services. Like, you can stay safe and you can stay on your line. You can stay in the all you want, but how are you going to know what your range is? And how are you going to test that if you don't test it and fail? And that was instilled in me by Tony DeCicco, by Paul Blodgett, by, Tim Mulqueen. That was instilled. Go, try, go, get your timing. And, I was never punished for making those attempts. And eventually you find a middle ground of, okay, that's out of my zone, but this isn't. But if you always stay safe, you're never going to excel, and you're never going to get to that next level.
Yeah, and that applies to life, right? Yeah. So, now, how important? And this will be, it'll be the last question here. But distribution, in possession, I'm the goalkeeper. Should I let my defender take that kick?
Never. On a goal kick?
On a goal kick?
Never. No, there's no reason. Listen, coaches out there, that there's a difference. This frustrates me. Okay. I'm going to be very, very honest. This frustrates me. You have club coaches out there that care more about winning and more about everything else they do about developing their players. All right. So if I'm recruiting and I look at something and the center back is taking the goal kicks for you, that means you don't trust your goalkeeper. You're not allowing her to fail. You're not allowing her to work on her craft. And all you care about is winning that game. Right. Your goalkeeper should be taking her goal kicks, and so on and so forth. That's the bottom line. And if she's not, then that's on you as a coach, that you're not developing her properly to take those kicks. And it should be worked on over and over and over again. There is no reason that a field player should be taking the kicks for you. It was really funny. I got into an argument with a club coach at one point, and he was just like, your goalkeeper can't take good goal kicks, right? And I was like, well, first of all, I work with her once a week for 30 minutes. It was club, we had so many. I go, but second of all, your field players can't cross a ball. or hit a long ball. So this is a fundamental thing on you as a coach, that your kids can't hit long balls and everything. Don't pinpoint my goalkeeper. You should, goalkeepers have to work on this. Distribution is paramount. What do we do 90% of the time we're on the field? What? We communicate and we do distribution. If you're saving the ball 90% of the time, then you have a big problem with your defense. But that's what we do 90% of the time. So it has to be trained and it has to be practiced, period.
Yeah, and those coaches who are taking that away from those players are taking the big part of the game away from the keeper. So no, I totally agree. So appreciate your time, appreciate you being here, and so the last thing I guess I'll close with is the United GK Alliance. Why did you join?
We are a small union. Goalkeepers are a special breed. We're individuals on a team sport. And the one thing we've always had, for me as well, is we've had this alliance. We've had this union, and that's why the GK union is a term. And so, I joined it because I'm always educating myself, always, and I always want to learn. And so, being able to be on a podcast with Paul Blodgett, who was my coach, or Bill Steffen, or something, they're teaching me every day. As in, I teach them. Like Paul was like, "Hey, there were some terms and some breakdowns that you said that I'm going to steal." Absolutely, And so, it's a great place for me, myself, as a coach to learn. And so if I feel that way at the level that I'm at, imagine how kids feel, and young coaches that are still learning, and parents and everybody. So I still feel that way. That's why.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for your time. And, for anybody, obviously, you can see the banner in the back, Angel City FC. When they turn up, make sure we follow and we support the Women's League. And it's something very simple as, buying a ticket, getting a t-shirt, make sure we support our leagues. So simple as that.
Absolutely.
So simple as that.
And you guys go to the union. Go to the unionsports.com, sign up. It's everything. Right now it's everything goalkeeping. Eventually it'll be all sports position, sports specific positions, but right now it's goalkeeping. It's free. It's free on Android and Apple. It's amazing. Everybody's joining. Check it out. You'll love it.
Thank you so much, Saskia, for being here.